Hello friends and welcome to my YouTube channel Simply Stocks, and today I'm going to talk about aviation stock, Interglobe Aviation, whether it is a buy at current levels or not. So let's get started. First of all, a disclaimer that this is not a stock recommendation and people taking any position into any share that I talk about should do that with their own due diligence and research, and I'm not in favor or against any company that I talk about. Before I talk about Interglobe Aviation, here's a small request that kindly support me on Patreon, and once you do that, it will help me grow the channel, help you also ask me questions in greater detail. Once you get the $10 membership, you'll have access to my portfolio, my watch list, and a number of podcasts on stocks that I put up from time to time. Plus, you can ask me questions on a daily basis. For detailed market talk or company talk or number of stocks you're holding, you need to directly email me and we can work things out. Now about the company, Interglobe Aviation was established in 1989 and into the business of airlines and aviation, have global presence with flights across the board, across the globe, a market leader in this space and one of the better, you can say, airline company that is listed at the moment here in India. The market cap of the company is around 65,000 crores, 60 to 65,000 crores. If you look at the financials, and these are December FY21 numbers versus FY20, so sales went down by 25%, quite admittedly and understandably that the sales have gone down so sharply in this pandemic. PAT has been, so there was a loss of 626 crores versus a profit of 15 crores, and this was especially due to the flights being halted completely due to the pandemic, and we can understand that. The debt is there, it is reasonable, it is not extremely high debt or completely debt laden company. You need to understand that the aviation sector as a whole is a very high gestation period, capital intensive kind of a business. So in that regard, debt is ought to be there. So reasonably the debt is lower compared to other players in the same space. Return on capital employed is around 21%, which is decent. Operating profit margin has decreased and it is extremely difficult to estimate that now because the next few quarters will be difficult for the whole aviation sector. If you look at the performance, then stock has been range bound in the last 2 years, virtually have given no returns. Although when the IPO came in, it came in with a lot of bang and people were extremely positive about the company and the business, etc. But things have not gone that correctly, and over the last 2 years, absolutely no returns, or you could say somehow negative returns. Numbers have been strong apart from the last 2 quarters. Numbers have remained strong, and in fact, even in this pandemic, I believe that this is one airline company. If somebody has to ought to buy an airline company, this is the one that they could be looking at, if at all. But it is trading at rich valuations because we don't know when things will completely normalize and people will be free to move around and do their work, and there will be a lot of travel because just to have the COVID test done is making people move away from leisure traveling, and most of the travels through leisure in the summer vacations, etc., and other vacation time used to happen, and Interglobe and the airline companies used to make money from it. But now it seems like the numbers would be curtailed for at least the next 2-3 quarters. So the future or the next few quarters doesn't look that bright at all. So in that regard, it is trading at rich valuations. Although there is high DII and promoter holding, only 2%, 3% free float. I mean the float with the common public. But still, I believe that the stock is quite expensive at these valuations. So why the sector is completely an avoid for me, as I have explained, depreciating rupee is another concern. So being at 73, 74 rupees, and with the dollar which is set to, I would say, strengthen because of the kind of you can say bond yields and kind of numbers of unemployment data, etc., is coming in, that would have impact on oil prices, and that is showing right now with over 60 $65 per barrel now, from being 17 $16 per barrel 4 5 years back. But that is going to have heavy impact on ATF prices, and that would directly affect aviation companies, and that's why I don't want to get into these companies on you can say on a 5 6 year basis, because there are a lot of combinations that have to go through, a lot of things that have to come in place for these companies to do well. That is extremely difficult if you take that into account. Ticket discounts in trying times will be there, and there will be more discounts going forward so that people travel. That would have a severe effect on the bottom line, so that's also a concern. Seasonal woes will be there, and we don't know when the examinations would be over. So we are having this time around the board examinations in May and June. So again, travel. I don't know when the travel restrictions completely get lifted. But even with travel restrictions being lifted, if the examinations are late and everything else goes in that manner, with other, you can say, admissions and all, probably this summer season will again go down the drain probably, and not much of a income would come through. There'll be fleet issues, there'll be issues with how many passengers that can travel, etc. So this will, in my opinion, may continue for a year and a half even from now. So if for the next 3 4 quarters, it is very difficult for these companies and airlines to make money. Railways to an extent may still make money, because there people do travel because it's a complete necessity, and there, the, you can say, masses travel through railways, not through airlines here in India. So that's also a reason. If you look at the technicals of the stock, then short-term support is between 1450 1500 levels. So between 1450 1480 there is support. So if you are holding on to the stock, probably you can keep a stop loss there, the final stop loss. Otherwise, what you can be looking at is not buying into it if you have not bought it. Stock has given no returns over the last 2 years. The 200 DMA is around 1400. Has been declining for past few weeks. So it has not done that well for the last 2 3 weeks, at least 2 weeks that I have seen, and will be strong once above 1700. So what you need to do is probably buy the stock when it goes in the upsurge, and take it as a technical trade rather than investment. So you could buy above 1700 with a stop loss at 1500, and or a stop loss at 1580 and a target of 21 2200. If things really get better, only then this can go past 1700 1750. Otherwise, I see more downside on the stock. Otherwise, I see more downside on this sector as a whole. So you need to be extremely careful buying into these companies. I believe that there is more downside that is left here. So keep strict stop losses even if you trade, and abide by that. So what needs to be done? In my opinion, avoid as a long-term play and keep track of numbers. You can always trade. So what you can do is you can trade with a, as I said, with a stop loss of 1550, with a stop loss of 1400, a stop loss that is 8 10% lower than your buy price. Just trade with that, make 25%, 20 25% if you can, and get out and do the same thing again. That would be a better thing to do rather than getting into the aviation sector from a 3 years perspective or a 4 year perspective. That would be extremely difficult for you to, you can say, gauge as to how things will go about. So aviation has never been a wealth creator globally, and I don't see it being a wealth creator here in India as well. So this was a video on Interglobe Aviation. Please like and subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon so you can get my videos straight away when I post it. Thanks a lot for watching.